Got another wonderful bunch of truth bombs in there for you with a red pill trivia quiz this week. Truth or trivia, which is always a winner. Very simple, very much like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire multiple choice. So if you're lucky, you got a chance of winning. You could just get it right out of luck. There's only 7 questions, but they're all red pills. You're gonna have to be careful. So let's get into it then. Truth or trivia. Let's get straight in there with the questions. Are you ready? Fingers on buzzers, and don't forget. Wait until the final question before typing anything into the chat that represents an answer. Here we go. Number 1. Optophobia is the fear of what? Optophobia is the fear of what? Going blind. Sorry. A. Going blind. B. Opening eyes. C. Closing eyes. Or D. Eyes popping out. Optophobia is the fear of what? Going blind, opening your eyes, closing your eyes, or eyes popping out. Question number 2. Since the, quote, privately owned, quote, Federal Reserve, I love that. Since the privately owned Federal Reserve, oxymoron, took over the printing of the US dollar, how much is it now lost in value? That's till today. A, 37%. B, 57%. C, 77%, or D, 97%. So this is how much of the US dollar's value has been lost. Yeah? How much has been lost of its value since the Federal Reserve took over the printing of it? A, 37%, B, 57%, C, 77%, or D, 97%. Question number 3. What Greek mythological fire-breathing monster had a lion's head, goat's body, and a dragon's tail? What Greek mythological fire-breathing monster had a lion's head, goat's body, and a dragon's tail? Was it A, Gello, B, Medusa, C, Chimera, or D, Mormo? A, Gello, B, Medusa, C, Chimera, or D, Mormo? Number 4. Which US president successfully doubled the country's debt that had taken all presidents combined before him to accumulate? That's quite an amazing record. Which US president doubled the country's debt that it had taken all presidents that had existed in America, this is, before him, to accumulate, and he come along and doubled it within about 4 years? Was it A, Obama, B, Bush W, C, Clinton, or D, Bush? A, Obama, B, Bush, C, Clinton, or D, the other Bush? Question number 5. What is the name given for having extra fingers or toes? Is it A, extradigititis? You can tell which one I made up. Was it A, extradigititis? Was it B, polyuria? C, polydactyly? Or D, polycythemia? I should have practiced these before, shouldn't I? A, extradigititis. B, polyuria. C, polydactyly. Or D, polycythemia. So this is a name given for having extra fingers or toes. Question number 6, the penultimate question, don't forget. Which vice president shot and killed someone on a hunting trip which later became known as Quailgate? Which vice president shot and killed someone on a hunting trip which later became known as Quailgate? Was it A, Brandon, you know who? Was it B, Al Gore? Was it C, Dan Quayle? Or was it D, Dick Cheney? So the vice president that shot and killed, and they were a sitting vice president when this happened, shot and killed someone on a hunting trip known as Quailgate. Was it A, Joe Biden, B, Al Gore, C, Dan Quayle, or D, Dick Cheney? So last question. Are you ready? Once you see this last one, you got the answer to it. You're ready to rock and roll. Margie Mulder, you haven't seen the last question yet. Did you accidentally hit enter? Right, here we go. Get ready. Number 7. Final question, the ultimate question. According to FAA flight logs, approximately how many guest flights were recorded to the Epstein Island? According to the FAA flight logs, approximately how many guest flights were recorded to the Epstein Island? Was it A, 300? Was it B, about 1,600? Was it C, about 2,100? Or was it D, 7,400? So how many flights, guest flights to Epstein Island? And don't forget, each flight's going to have loads of, like, more than one person on it, right? Potentially. That's a fair old couple of people compromised, isn't it? So how many flights logged to the island? Was it A, 300, B, 1,600, C, 2,100, or D, 7,400? And that, my darlings and my lovely ones, is the end of the wonderful Truth or Trivia Red Pill Truth Bomb quiz. So submit your answers in the chat, and of course, I don't need to tell you that twice because they are absolutely streaming in. Look at all these wonderful answers. Thank you so much for playing along at home. Let's get into the answers and we'll see how well you did. And I can tell you now, we haven't got an absolute total and utter winner, but we have got the one that came the closest with the least number of wrong answers, which is always in itself a great achievement. I actually think it's virtually impossible to get 100% correct, but I get surprised every week when people do, such as our Seth Taylor, who won last week. Well done, Seth. Seth Taylor voting G jumping there as a potential pooping candidate for the pooping pigeons later on. Right, let's have a look. The answers. Hold on to your seats. Truth bombs incoming. So, optophobia is the fear of what? Eyes popping out, I put in, because Magic Hand really doesn't like... She doesn't like it when people do that thing where they pop their eyes out. It's gruesome. So, yeah, I thought I'd add that in there. But the actual answer to that is opening eyes. And I bet we all know somebody who just can't seem to want to open their eyes. Yeah? Like I say, all these questions are linked somehow. But don't we all know someone who just refuses to open their eyes? You should say, have you got optophobia? They'll say, what's optophobia? It's like the fear of opening your fucking eyes. Oh dear. Number 2, since the privately, I love the way I put the little single quotes in here, right? Since the privately owned Federal Reserve, it's like, you know, proper oxymoron, isn't it? Love it. It's like the Patriot Act, isn't it? It's about the least patriotic thing I've ever read. Since the privately owned Federal Reserve took over the printing of the US buckaroonie, how much did they lose it in value since then? And boom, 97%. 90. Well, yeah. In fact, it's more than 97%. It had lost 97% of its value in 2016, I think I got my report from to make the question out of. So I thought, well, if it was 97% in 2016, I'm pretty safe saying 97%. I was going to say more than, but I thought, no, it's a giveaway. Sandy likes the the optophobia question for the old opening your eyes. Yeah, I thought that was classic. I thought we got to have that. So yeah, 97%. How embarrassing is that, right? I mean, again, that's not specific to the US dollar. I mean, the British pound and the euro hasn't even been going that long. And don't forget, the Federal Reserve was in last week's, was it, or the week before, Truth or Trivia, where we had the one about the Titanic. The people who happened to coincidentally die on the Titanic, who were exactly the people that were in the way of the Federal Reserve being formed. And then within a year of a Titanic sinking and those people happening to be on board and the Titanic happening to sink while they were on board, meant that within a year of that happening, these dudes thought, here, hold my beer, I've got an idea. Number 3, what Greek mythological fire-breathing monster had a lion's head, goat's body, and a dragon's tail? And I mean, I kind of guessed this one. This was one of Magic Hands, and I kind of guessed it. Obviously, Chimera. If you've seen like Resident Evil movie series, I used to love the PlayStation game growing up. I say growing up, I was about 18 playing that maybe. But yeah, Resident Evil series of PlayStation games, they've got and the movie's got a Chimera there, which is basically a mishmash of various things. So there'll be another question next week actually along this line, because I'm going to start talking about other technologies that are being developed, if you know what I mean, I think we all need to know about. Shanna Hyde says 97%. Jesus Christ, absolutely, isn't it? It's incredible. But of course, all the presidents will tell you that job numbers are down and the economy's up and everything's good in the hood, isn't it? It's amazing. Number 4, which US president? Oh, talking of which, it's almost like all these things are planned, isn't it? Right. So, which US president doubled the country's debt that had all taken all presidents combined before him to accumulate? So basically, what we're saying here is that this president, when he came into power, there was, I think, something like 8 trillion in debt, which was what it had taken all 43, sorry, that'll give you a clue. All 43 presidents before him, it took 43 presidents to accumulate, I think it was about 7 trillion or something like that's worth of debt. And by the time Obama left office, there was $14 trillion of debt, which was doubling what it had taken the 43 fucking presidents before him. Just doubled it in one term. Like, have some of that. Oh, my beer. Fuck. So, yeah. And of course, he wins the Nobel Peace Prize 1 month and then holds the record for droning the most number of innocent people the next. And then it's like, yeah, as you were. Fuck me. Oh, dear. Lessons were learned, though, apparently. Number 5. What is the name given for having extra fingers or toes? Of course, you know that I just made that up, extra digititis. I thought that would be funny. It's the only thing I could think of. It's quite, I did mention before, when I'm making these questions and answers and stuff, and I get help from friends, and like Magic Hand come up with some now and again, and a friend of mine will talk about something just off topic. I'll be, oh, fuck me, that's the point. I could use that as a truth or trivia thing. Or I'll watch a TikTok video about some conspiracy theory that I completely forgot about back in the day. It can't be a conspiracy theory. It has to be something that's been proven, and it's obviously it's just a fact that not a lot of people know, that is designed to sort of open your eyes, unlike the optophobia ones amongst us. Oh, look at that, Danger Bob in the house, in the house. Everyone needs to kneel before Danger Bob. Danger Bob has entered the chat. Those in the chat, must thou kneel before thou art Danger Bob. I hope family has arrived well and you're having a good time, Danger Bob. So yes, that's polydactyly. Polydactyly. It's a nasty spelling, that, isn't it? But there's something that goes along with this that I learned. Because again, this is a classic TikTok thing, right? I saw a dude who was doing a thing about a dude who had 6 fingers. And he had 6 fingers on the other hand as well, but it was, the one on the other hand wasn't as cool. I'd say not as cool looking, but his one hand that had the 6 fingers was like blatantly just looked like a normal hand until you counted them up. And it's like, fuck yeah, 6 fingers. And it's like, they were so perfectly formed. Whereas the other hand, the 6th finger he's got is a little bit skew with it. It's quite obvious it's some sort of a mutation, right? But I also learned that back in the day with the old indigenous population in America, like the Indian tribes and things, there was an old tribe of people who used to have 6 fingers, and they were considered red-headed, white, cannibalized tribe, as in they would eat humans. They were cannibals, right? And they had red hair, I guess. Red-headed something cannibal tribe, right? But apparently they were renowned for being the most severe, crazy, violent, clan, if you like, or tribe back in the day. And that was why the Indians used to do howl like this, and they would do the palm, because it would prove that they didn't have polydactyly, right? They didn't have 6 fingers, because then they would know they weren't part of that red-headed cannibal tribe. So I bet you didn't know that. Oh dear. Number 6, the penultimate one. Which vice president, and that was a sitting vice president at the time, imagine that, murdering someone. Murder was an accident, was it? Which VP shot and killed someone on a hunting trip, which later became known as Quailgate? Dick Cheney, wasn't it? Absolutely incredible. And it was a judge as well. It was like a super high up judge. What do you call it, judge? Yeah. And I'll tell you what, there's so much to do with that. Even like when that happened, there were so many hunting professionals who went in there who even not replicated it, they reenacted the event that was alleged to have happened. And it took them something like 3 hours for the Secret Service to even report it even happened. And by then, the dude had already had an ambulance called, and he'd been basically shot in the face. He died, yeah? Fucking amazing. And anyway, there were so many anomalies, as usual with these things, right? And Dick Cheney saying, oh no, we were good friends. And then the dude who got shot had always maintained they were nothing but acquaintances and didn't actually like each other that much. And then there's all this other stuff comes out. And then a bunch of hunting professionals reenacted what was in the police report was what they said had happened. And it's basically impossible. With the distances that were involved and the lead shot they said that they were using and the positions of where people apparently were standing, none of it made any sense, which is why it became Quailgate, because clearly, you know, it wasn't the things, you know, that people thought, which is what Truth or Trivia is all about. Oh dear, number 7 with the final one. We like to have a good one for the last one usually. And again, this came up this week. I was just in part of what I follow, you know, all the bits and pieces I follow during the week on so many different platforms. And of course, the Epstein thing's going on at the moment with Ghislaine Maxwell doing her thing. And of course, I'm listening to the evidence being put forwards. And one of the things there was the flight logs from the, what do you call it? What's that plane called? Lolita Express, right? And yeah, it showed 2,100 people in at least 2,100 flights to the island, guest flights, specifically guest flights. So not supplies, not like, you know, not Epstein himself, but guests. So really, I mean, of course, it doesn't mean that everyone's only going there one time. Some people might have gone there 10 times, but it gives you an understanding of the number of people that are compromised. And when I say compromised, that's the important thing here, because what these things are really about is the same as the Bunny Ranch. You know, the Bunny Ranch, when Matey Boy passed away, it turned out that he'd been working for the you-know-whats behind the scenes for many, many years with cameras riddled throughout the Bunny Ranch, yeah, the Playboy Mansion. There were cameras riddled in all those rooms, and they would invite things like admirals and generals from the military and congressmen and stuff like that to the Bunny Ranch. Is it called the Bunny Ranch? Or is it Playboy Mansion? Is it? I don't know. I need to brush up on that. But maybe it's the nickname of it. But basically, they would invite them there and they would video them doing all sorts of crazy shit. And then they would use that as obviously leverage to get certain laws passed and, you know, contracts signed and shit like that, right? And the usual way that the puppeteers puppeteer, yeah? So, there you go. That was the Truth or Trivia for this week, which was pretty epic. Final answers then. BDC, ACDC. BDC, ACDC. So, let's see what we've got that looks something like a winner. And like I say, we've had such a great response in the chat. There was so many people flying in with their answers. But I can tell you now, we don't have an absolute outright winner. But funnily enough, the one that I said was the first with an answer, Steve-O, was basically the one that got it the most rightest, because you only got one wrong. So let's just have a quick look. Which one was it you got wrong? ACDC. It was the last one, wasn't it? BDC, ACDC it should have been. So the last one you got wrong. You said A. Let's have a quick look and see what A was. 300. Never underestimate the commitment of people like Epstein and his friends. But neither way, Steve-O, well done, my man. You are indeed the deserved winner of this week's Truth or Trivia. It's a pretty epic prize to win, man, because not many people know their shit. And Steve-O here knows his shit. Well done, my man. Brilliant result. Absolutely fabulous to only get one wrong in all that, right? When you look at all those that came before it.